Good morning, Markaboy with you. This time I'm in town sitting on the old steps of my old house, which was looking pretty good until I ripped off the front porch. The porch has been rotting for 30 years ever since we've lived here, and I've been procrastinating on this final major job. So it's going to involve concrete forming, concrete placement, some carpentry, tiling, and all sorts of things. So stick with me while I throw it all back together. The hole cleaned out for the new pathway, which will also function as the footing for the wall, which will go in here to support the porch. And just establishing the level here, we want any water that descends on the pathway, we want it to flow away from the house. So half a bubble on the level will take care of that. And the next job would be to throw in some rebar to make it all structurally sound, and then we can pour concrete. So stay tuned. I'm just using regular zap straps to hold the rebar together, and every other node, every other junction of the rebar, just in this case just a little piece of old brick to lift it off the floor and position the rebar at the right spot within the concrete. So that's the basic rebar grid laid out. Turns out I'm on about 18-inch centers. 2 feet would have been adequate, but one of the reasons I'm using rebar is that the concrete surface, the rough concrete surface that I'm going to wind up with, is I'm going to apply tile. So I don't want it to tip, to crack, to break in any way. It has to be a structural slab. Thanks to the help of my friendly neighbour yesterday, we got the pathway all laid, and now we can walk easily instead of having to tread around on rebar. And I've got a little bit of a rot issue, as you can see on the old bay window here, that I partly fixed years ago from underneath the crawl space. So I have a joist that's supporting the weight of the front here. I'm going to remove this rot, put a new joist in, and then we can start laying out the framework for the new concrete deck. Just doing a quick rough pour here, pads that are going to support 6 or 8 inch columns, which will then support the concrete deck. That's the idea. It's a little bit rough and ready, but we need a little bit more support than this 2 to 3 inches of concrete here provides. bunch of sonotube cardboard concrete forms ready to make some concrete pillars, which will be reinforced with steel rebar, ready to take the load of the finished concrete deck. This isn't rocket science, but we've got a handy dandy little plexiglass funnel so that we can get the concrete into these 6-inch tubes. A couple of pieces of rebar in here. Just have them go that way. Have this thing first. So what we'll do eventually, we haven't quite filled the tubes to the finished height, but we'll when this concrete's all set up, we'll run a board across, find out where we need where the grade is going to be, and we can cut this column exactly to the finished grade on which the plywood decking form is going to sit. And we get the angle perfectly okay, and then when we'll cut a hole in the plywood form for the decking, so that we'll have continuity between the column, the rebar, and the finished deck. It's the morning after the concrete pour, and the columns are setting up nicely. We give them a few days to cure in this hot weather. I've established a level point along the front of the house here, which will be supporting the plywood form onto which we're going to pour the concrete deck. So I've established that level. Then I've established the slope with half a bubble on my spirit level, and extended it out here to where the landing is going to be. I've also established a similar slope over here, and then I ran a chalk line between the two. The chalk line represents the height of the wooden form into which we're going to pour the concrete to make the wall. We probably spend as much time forming the steps as we did in forming all of the walls. Well, that's the forming done for the walls. We're under way too much stress to be filling tubes